It's that time again. It's the podcast that takes your personal and professional life to a whole new level. Whether you're selling a product, selling a service, or selling yourself, one thing is for sure. You're always selling for life. Welcome back. It's the Selling for Life podcast, a podcast meticulously designed for those who not only want to be better at selling stuff, but better at selling themselves. Because whether you're trying to sell insurance or you're just trying to convince a coworker to let you borrow $10 until payday, you're always selling for life. The Selling for Life podcast is sponsored by ConEquip Parts You'll, parts with a personal touch. Brother man, how are you? How have you been? How are the last few days going for you?
Going good, man. Going good.
Are you sure?
I'm continuing the struggle.
Yeah?
You know.
All right.
The struggle.
We had a talk yesterday. We're going to be getting into what we talked about in just a little bit. But first, I want to just loosen you up. Like, what's going on with the fam?
Fam is good. We're getting ready for like a little weekend trip.
Mm-hmm.
I got an RV recently, and it's been a dream of mine. Been planning for about 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Time was right. Pulled the trigger this year.
Good
and
deal.
We are road warriors.
Sweet. Yeah, I'm going away to Florida tomorrow, leaving early. My flight leaves at 6 o'clock in the morning. It's the only way I could save a couple $100. Got to get the kid up at like 4 o'clock in the morning. Me and my 12-year-old are going to Florida. He's excited to go to Universal. He wants to go on the Jurassic Park ride before they close in September. I guess they're upgrading the ride to Jurassic World. For those of you who are Jurassic Park and World fans, you probably know what I'm talking about. Beyond that, going to see my dad and family, and it's going to be interesting because it is super hot down there, and I don't like the heat. Nope.
That's where the sun is, in Florida.
Yeah, like all the time. Like the sun is literally just a couple 100 miles above the Earth's surface in Florida. That's how hot it is. So anyway, I'm looking forward to that. You know, other than the trip and everything, things are good. Things are good. The last podcast, Al, we had a conversation yesterday in the training room of ConEquip Parts, and why don't you share a little bit about what you talked about with me?
Well, I was saying like our last podcast was about character, and character is one of our core values at ConEquip. So we kind of just jumped off with the concept, but I was letting you know like there's so much more to it. There's like a real big backstory to why one of the core values is character at ConEquip. Mm-hmm. I was angry. I was like, man, we didn't even like talk about like the real stuff, like the
right
down dirty stories, the struggle.
You watered it down. You tempered yourself. I was telling you that you just got to let it all hang out in this podcast, because that's why we're doing this podcast. 2 years ago, longer than that, 5 years ago, when I first heard you talk to us about, you know, sales and inspiration and motivation, you were reaching me with this stuff. And I said, one of these days, I want to somehow, some way bring that to the masses. And so we started this podcast, and the first few, you know, we're feeling our way through this. You were not the guy that I remember you were in front of the employees. So that's kind of what I shared with you yesterday. You need to all let it all hang out. And if anybody's noticed, what is different about Al today?
Man, I am juiced up and I'm standing up.
You are standing up.
I'm standing up. I'm better on my feet. I tell you what, to become myself and be comfortable, I got a stand-up desk. I stand all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I hate sitting down.
That's right.
I hate sitting down. Only time I like sitting down, in my RV, traveling. That's about it.
Okay, good.
But I can get up and go to the bathroom if I want to and just like stand up if I wanted to, which is awesome.
So you shared with some things with me yesterday again in that break room or training room, and it really was like, man, that's what we need to talk about. That's how you need to present this. So that brings us to our topic of the day. It's revisiting the first core value from the last episode, and it is character.
We're talking about character again, but like real application situations that built certain character in our company, in ourselves, and in myself. That's what we're going to talk about a little bit more.
Good.
All right?
Good. Tell me that story. I want you to get right into it. The story that you told me that was just blew me away.
Yeah.
Having to do with sleep or lack of.
Well, I mean, building ConEquip with my buddy Ben and, eventually Ryan. We started out with the hope that we're going to do something special. We're going to, replace our incomes from other places to be able to support our families. I mean, even to keep our wives wanted to stay at home with the kids. That was just a lifestyle choice for us to keep that in place. That was in our business plan, right? Our business plan was set up at least like that. And we methodically planned it out, numbers and all this other stuff that would support it. We even try to figure out how to train certain people to help us out. We hired a couple folks in the beginning. Shout out to you, first 2 sales reps that we hired, our buddy Billy and Hector. Even Doug came in part-time at that time, which, we really appreciated this help. We sucked at managing it all. Ben and I, we might've been good in sales, but we realized after a couple years, we need a lot of help. I thought I knew a lot. In fact, that was probably the biggest learning lesson for me, is that I don't know much. And there was a time, maybe 3 years in, we were selling still. There was never a point where calls weren't coming in, thank God. Mm-hmm. But man, we just couldn't make ends meet to a real point where, like I was telling and sharing with you the other day, is that there was one point where I think we were maybe, not 6 months, but maybe 5 months behind on our mortgages. Mm. That was Ben and I both. Mm. That's the struggle. Mm-hmm. You open up a freaking, a business, and you're an entrepreneur and you're going to kill it. And man, you're selling, and all of a sudden there's no money to pay the bills. Mm-hmm. Thank God though, in the last 8-9 years, we never missed a payroll. And that's the thing, you take on employees and you want to build in them and have them join your team, and mm-hmm. you got to make sure you're responsible for that. But I actually had to go out to make sure I had food on my table and get a second job. Mm. That's the struggle. Steve, you ever do that?
Not to the extent that you did. I can't wait till you tell everybody the story of what you did to help keep the business afloat. And by the way, you did miss payroll. You missed your own payroll and Ben's payroll. So in a way, you sacrificed big time. But go on with the story, because what you told me you ended up having to do to keep things going just was something everybody needs to hear this story. Go ahead.
Yeah, so Ben and I were talking, and we always had this agreement in the beginning that, if one of us were to have a trouble or whatever struggle, or the company would have a struggle, one of us would move into the other one's house. He had 4 or 5 kids at the time. I had 4 kids at the time. And we would living in the house together, Mm-hmm. So we're to that point where we're going to lose both houses. We got to figure out what to happen. And thank God there was those remediation kind of things happening and mortgages at the time, which we kind of got involved in, but we still couldn't feed our families without mm-hmm. some other influx of cash. So it was kind of a decision, that we made even together. I had to just do something, right? I had to do something for my family, and I couldn't pull any more money out of ConEquip because we got to pay the bills and we got to make sure people get paid that are working hard for us. I freaking started looking in the want ads. I'm looking, for something I can do after hours, because I still have to sell parts, still have to market, still have to do payroll, still have to do accounting or whatever else was involved. So I got a real nice part-time temporary job, or not, I shouldn't say part-time, full-time job mm-hmm. at a place called Ford Gum over locally. And I was in there. I worked at factories when I was a teenager. I like talking to people. So thankfully I could package gum, right? Which was awesome gum. Shout out to Ford Gum. They make the Big League Chew. Uh-huh. You ever heard of that?
Yes.
I could do that. I could talk to people in the factory. We were having a blast all night from 10 o'clock at night or 11 o'clock at night till 7 in the morning. Oh my God. I would come home at 7 in the morning, right?
Right.
Take maybe an hour of sleep, then go to work, then come home at 5, mm-hmm. eat, mm-hmm. take 4 hours of sleep, mm-hmm. go back to packaging and making gum. I mean, it was awesome.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
You did that 6 days a week, you told me.
Yeah, it was crazy. But I had to take extra hours if they gave it to me, mm-hmm. Working on the weekend, working through whatever, it was just one of those things you just got to do.
So does everybody hear what he's saying? He got maybe 2-3 hours of sleep a night for almost a half a year, did you say?
Yeah, it went on for a few months, several months, because we had to get past whatever was going on at ConEquip. And we didn't want to give that up. That's the thing. Like, people want to, open up a business. They think it's, I don't know. There's like some kind of glory in
glamour.
it.
Glamorous, right?
Thank you, Steve. You're there for a reason. Glamorous.
Glamorous. Oh, I'm going to be a business owner. I'm going to be,
Yeah, glamorous. Business owning is not glamorous. It's not for the faint at heart.
Nope.
And people come up to me, hey, I want to do this, I want to do that, give me an idea. I tell you, I would recommend no one. You could lose your wife. You could lose your kids, your house. You could be destitute on the street.
So hide your kids, hide your wife.
Hide your kids, hide your wife.
You need to hide your kids, hide your wife, hide your kids, hide your wife.
Business owning is not for the faint at heart. And that's one of the struggles that you go through. I mean, and what's cool is we're past it, right? We look back at that as like, and that's why character is a core value here. The definition itself we talked about last time was the concept of enduring suffering, persevering through that struggle, right? And then it creates some kind of character in you, but then it produces this hope, right? And knowing that my family, my wife and I, my buddy Ben, Ryan was there during that time coaching us, giving us advice. And we joked on I think our first podcast together that like Ryan never invoiced us because he was our business coach because he knew he couldn't afford it. So
right,
like that's where he came into. It was kind of cool, and we bonded together in that. And like that's what entrepreneurship is. That's what building a business has in it, and that's what's scary. That like this glorification or this whatever it is of owning being an entrepreneur, like what Shark Tank does, it makes it look like this is awesome, dude. You want to eat? You want to have a house to live in?
Yeah, I come up with a company name with an LLC behind it, so now I've made it.
You made it, dude.
No,
it ain't happening.
No, and the bigger message here is that it's not bad to go through that. It doesn't mean that you failed because you are working at a gum factory packaging gum.
Oh, it was a great place to work.
Sleep, right?
No,
a lot of people will feel like whatever they're going through. There are so many people out there. I was talking to you yesterday that there are single moms who have a job and they're trying to start an internet business at home or whatnot, and they're going through these struggles. They're just exhausted and in tears. At the time, feels like, well, I'm failing here, but it's not. It's actually a process of building character that helps make you stronger. That it's saying what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, right?
Well, that's the thing. Like, too many people live by their feelings. And what I've learned is that, I felt like giving up. Ben felt like giving up at that time. My wife was even, wow, what's happening? But you can't go with your feelings. Character is outside of that, right? That's the whole point, right? Your feelings is kind of part of the suffering. You suffer inside, you struggle with outside stuff. Whatever you're struggling with, you can't go with your feelings. We took stock of like true facts. We wrote a pros and cons list. We took stock of, what our reality was. We sought advice at that time. We got a business coach that was Ryan. We heard him on like the radio program that he had locally and reached out to him. We talked to our pastor at the time. We got advice from other business owners. We just didn't sit there in our feelings and give up, right? We just like bootstrapped through it, whatever. And Ben could have went out and got a second job too. I mean, he might have, you know what I mean? At that point, it was just more of like for our home, that's what I needed to do. I needed to do it for my wife. I needed to show her like I would do anything for her. Again, our marriage was better because of it. And my kids, they probably didn't know what was going on, but even sharing that with them, saying, "Hey, we gotta struggle. Let's eat a little bit less." I mean, honestly, let's be frugal. Let's not buy extra sneakers and things. Just let's pray that God keeps our shoes from wearing. I mean, honestly, that kind of stuff happened during that time. I mean, I think we're better for it. But we didn't go by our feelings. And too many people, again, don't get that. Owning a business or building a business, even working just for anybody and wanting to be successful in what you do takes character. It takes like something from within that is not part of feelings. Because sometimes you don't feel like getting up in the morning. Sometimes,
tell me about it.
I don't feel like getting up in the morning, but you got to do it. That's what character is.
Yeah.
You got to show up. You got to just, struggle through it and make it happen. And again, I love the when looking back, and my kids loved it. They freaking got gumballs like every night. You know, I brought home. I'm serious.
Yeah.
This place was so cool to work at. You could walk out, and there was like mismatched things and wrong colored things, and they'd put it out there by the, by the entrance, and you could like fill up a bag.
So they did eat.
Well, they ate gum. My kids ate gum. Like the package is a Big League Chew you could take home.
Oh man,
it was awesome.
What are we having tonight, kids? We're having some raspberry gum.
Some gum, dude.
Now let me ask you this: looking back, would you have changed a thing?
Oh man,
would you have had it any other way? Would you, when you look back at the struggle and what you came through, would you have preferred it just fell in your lap and everything worked out great, or do you like the way it happened? That's a leading question. I'm trying to get you to answer a certain way. Let me answer.
I would not.
No,
change
Steve.
that
is exactly the way it needed to be.
Yeah, I love struggle. Oh yeah,
but I mean,
I want more of it, Steve.
You look at people and they just don't want any obstacles in their way, as the song goes. But
there's no song that says. What are you talking about?
I can see clearly now. The rain is gone. I can see all obstacles in my way.
You got to have struggle. You got to. It helps build character, and if you don't look at it that way, then it can overwhelm you and become daunting. But if you say, while you're in your situation, man, this is definitely going to make me stronger. I'm going to push through it, and at the other end of the line, I'm going to look back and it'll feel more rewarding, I think, in the end.
I wouldn't change a thing. I learned a lot during that time. Like I said, it even bonded my family better.
Mm-hmm.
My wife knew that I would do anything to provide for the family. I learned that God is the one who provided, because working at Fort Gum, even if you're working there full time, though it's a great place to work and, it was good income, we still had to make payroll. It's just one of those things where here I wouldn't change anything looking back on it. Mm-hmm. But I would encourage everyone, you don't want to look for the problems, but for goodness sake, don't give up.
Right.
If you have a goal in mind and you sought out good advice and you're logical about it, and then you're also got a good mission, something that has gumption to it, stick with it. Don't give up.
You really brought it today. Well, there are people listening to this podcast that are maybe going through something that's much like what you went through, and they are just wiped out. And hopefully this is some encouragement to know that what you're going through is worth it. Just keep at it. And in the end, when you look back, you'll say, man, this just made me a better person, a better business owner, a better employee. That brings us to our company message, Al. What do you have to tell our wonderful ConEquip employees today? Anything?
Hey, I want you to live real amongst each other. Tell and share your stories. If you're in a struggle, let people know around you. Reach out, because, we weren't alone in our struggles. ConEquip is where it is because we just kept on banding with people that cared, and we weren't an island. That itself builds character.
Awesome. Next week, we will take a look at another core value. Do you know what it is yet?
Diligence.
Diligence is next. So be sure to subscribe to our podcast, leave a comment, ask a question, maybe make a suggestion. You can email us at contact@sellingforlife.com. Check out our website at sellingforlife.com. We have a lot of cool stuff up there for you to check out. So, Al, that's it. You feel good?
Thank you.
Until next time, remember, whether you're trying to sell a customer on a service upgrade or you're trying to convince the groom at a bachelor party, what happens in Vegas truly does stay in Vegas. One thing's for sure, you're always selling for life.